Some conversations are forever etched in my memory. Not because they were loud or dramatic, quite the opposite. It's the silence. A calmness that hides something irreversible. It was August. One of those sticky evenings when the sun still hangs over the horizon, but it's starting to get tired. Sam and I were sitting on the balcony, drinking cider out of wine glasses and eating cheap cheese and crackers. For pathos's sake, not flavor. She sat barefoot, wrapped in my hoodie. Feet on the railing, hair a little disheveled. Eyes closed, like a person who's about to say something but is still struggling with herself. Have you ever lost someone? She asked suddenly. I took a sip of cider, not expecting the turn. My grandmother died when I was 12. We weren't really close, but I remember the smell of her perfume. Lily of the valley. Why do you ask? She exhaled slowly. Then she said. My mom died. A year ago. Cancer. Almost as soon as I moved to the city. I froze. Sam wasn't the type to share much. She was whole. Sewn up from the inside out. Even her tears she could swallow as if they were part of her breath. Shit. I'm sorry. Was all I could manage. It's okay, she grinned. It was a long time ago. I just didn't tell you. I didn't want you to feel sorry for me. I didn't ask again. I didn't get into what hospital, or what did the doctor say, or were you with her. I just hugged her. She let me. For a minute. 2. Then she went to the bathroom. Said she wanted to lie in a bath of salt. I knew the conversation was over. After that, the word mom was never heard in our apartment again. She didn't celebrate her birthday. She said she didn't have time for that. At Christmas we went to my parents. She didn't need to be persuaded, on the contrary, as if she wanted to avoid any mention of family. When any Suzanne or Andrea called, she'd hang up. She'd say it was a mistake. It didn't bother me. Not right away. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. I didn't tell her about some things, either. That winter with therapy. The nervous tics I had as a teenager. We were, functional. Almost happy. It's been almost a year. We moved in together 3 months after we met. It was quick, but easy. We lived quietly, peacefully. She worked in a bookstore. I was working from home on a UX project. We watched old movies in the evenings, read chunks of books aloud. Sometimes we had sex, as if we were afraid of waking the neighbors, even though they were always listening to metal. I thought everything was fine. Until that very day. It was an ordinary Tuesday. I drove downtown to meet a colleague. After lunch, I walked into a coffee shop, a small place with wooden chairs and the smell of cinnamon. I wanted to get a takeaway latte, but decided to stay. It was raining. So, standing at the counter, twirling a spoon in my fingers, I saw a woman behind the glass. She looked about 50 years old. Clear facial features. Same posture. The same chin line. Her hair was blonde, like Sam's, but with a streak of gray in it. She was standing with an umbrella, trying to get something out of her bag. My insides clenched. It was Sam. Only 20 years later. Or at least a replica of her. When the woman walked in, I reviewed everything in my head. What if it was just a play of imagination? But then she walked up to the counter and said. 1 Americano. No milk. Thank you. Same voice. Just a little lower. Thick. I couldn't take it. I'm sorry. I started. You wouldn't happen to be Suzanne, would you? She turned around. Surprised. Yes. Who are you? Alex. I'm confused. Live with your daughter. She froze. Sam. She whispered. God. Are you with her? Is she here? I nodded. I didn't know what to say. And then in an instant her eyes filled with tears. She clamped her hand over her mouth as if someone had hit her. Is she alive? Is she okay? I just nodded. I thought you were dead, I breathed out. She raised her eyebrows. What? She said, a year ago. That you were dead. Cancer. The woman, Suzanne, gripped the back of the chair. Then slowly sat up. She said I was dead. I nodded. I'm sorry, but, why? She looked at me like I was a ghost. Or like the answer she'd been dreading all along. She just walked away. She stopped responding. I called, I wrote, I went to the college. No one knew where she was. I thought, she was just angry. Or ashamed. But, tell her I was dead. I didn't know how to feel. I had a lump in my chest. I loved Sam. I loved her silence, the way she looked at books, her strange habits, the tenderness with which she touched my wrist at bedtime. But suddenly it was all shaky. Who is she? What if none of it is true? What if it is? Just not the one I know. I left the cafe without finishing my coffee. I walked in the rain without my hood on. When I got home, Sam was lying on the couch. Watching an old comedy. There was a blanket under her side, popcorn on the table. Hey, she said. Terrible weather, huh? I nodded. Sat next to her. Didn't touch. Watched her laugh at some joke. Easy. Real. And there was a pounding in my head. She's dead, Alex. She died a year ago. But I just held her hand. Alive. Real. And crying. I barely slept that night. I lay there with my eyes open, feeling Sam's breathing next to me, steady, deep. It was like she was getting farther in her sleep. Like there was an ocean between us, and I was just listening to the waves. I didn't know how that was even possible. How you can say, my mom's dead, if she's alive. If she's crying in a cafe, hoping to hear something from you. I couldn't understand, was it a lie? Or was it something else? In the morning, Sam woke up as usual. Went for a shower, came out with a towel over her head, turned on the kettle and sat next to her laptop, leafing through Pinterest. Do you have any appointments today? She asked without looking at me. No. I'm thinking of working from the coffee shop. I'm going to the park, she said. I want to go for a walk. My head feels heavy. I just nodded. Stared at her, almost physically feeling something huge hanging between us. A word. A secret. A world. Instead of the coffee shop, I drove downtown again. I didn't know why. Suzanne wasn't likely to be there again. But I needed, movement. Air. I walked down the street where we'd met. I bought myself a latte at the same cafe. I went outside. And just sat on a bench in the rain. My mind was racing. What if she really had a reason? What if her mother was humiliating her like she said she was? What if dead wasn't about her physical body, but that she had simply given up on her? Internally, emotionally. It happens, doesn't it? But on the other hand, Sam never spoke ill of her parents. She just never said anything. And that, nothing, was everything. A wall. A barrier. A signal to stay out. But now I'm in. Deep. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. Sam, I said as we ate dinner. I saw your mother today. She stopped chewing. Slowly put her fork on the edge of her plate. And looked at me. Without surprise. No fear. Where? Downtown. A cafe by the movie theater. She didn't say anything. She looked at me like she was waiting for me to say something else. She thought you were dead. That you were gone. She was crying, Sam. Silence. She was dead to me, she said quietly. You didn't understand. I squeezed the fork so hard it almost slipped out of my fingers. Explain. She inhaled slowly. You don't know what it's like to live in a house where every word you say is a mistake. Where you're shamed for what you eat, for how you look, for who you're friends with. Where they whisper to you that you're ruining the atmosphere with your anxiety. Where every conversation ends up being your fault. Always. I didn't answer. I just listened. Mom was always perfect. In other people's eyes. Smiles, cakes, how are you, honey? But at home, the screaming. Fear. The smell of valerian and recriminations. She used to lock me in my room, Alex. When I cried. When I couldn't stop the panic attacks. She'd say, it's because you're weak. That if I ever left, no one would be there for me. That I was a burden. How many times do you think you need to hear that to believe it? I didn't answer again. In college, I tried to run away. Called she'd come in like a storm. Do you want to embarrass yourself again? Have you lost your friends again? What do you want? Do you want me to die of shame? She looked at me, and in her eyes was everything, anger, pain, fear. For a moment, I just decided she was gone. Not physically. But as a presence in my life. I haven't told anyone. Because everyone starts to feel sorry for me. And I don't want pity. I need silence. Space. Without her. I sighed. I get it. But do you understand what it looks like to others? Of course I do. Like a lie. It's not just a lie. It's, a whole death made up. You buried a man and said nothing. I buried a monster. Not a woman. Not a mom. A monster who lived in my childhood. We sat in silence. She's not a monster, Sam. I talked to her. She was, broken. Confused. She just wants to know where you are. That you're alive. Sam looked away. Let her not know. And that's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it. On automatic. A woman. Soft, warm voice. And familiar. Is that Alex? Yeah. Who is it? I'm Aunt Sam. From Virginia. I believe you two live together. Yeah. I didn't want to intrude, but, you seem to have found out something. If you want to know the truth, the real truth, not just Sammy's, I can tell you. You want to? I looked at Sam. She was looking at me. Like she knew who was calling. I want to, I answered. We met the next morning. Sam's Aunt Laureen lived in the suburbs, in a house with a white porch and an old cherry tree by the gate. She greeted me in a bathrobe and warm socks, a cup of tea in her hands and a look on her face as if she'd been waiting for this conversation for years. Come in. No formalities. You're the one she lives with, aren't you? I nodded. She gestured to a chair and sat down across from me. The room smelled of apple pie and dusty books. I don't know what you've heard so far. But if you're here, you have questions. I don't understand, I said. Why did Sam say her mom was dead? I saw her. I talked to her. She doesn't look like a monster. Laureen was silent for a long time. Then she sighed. Suzanne is my sister. We've never been close, but I'm not gonna give you a straight answer. Because things have always been on edge in our family. Sam is a sensitive kid. Very. And Suzanne was tough, abrasive. She didn't know how to handle anxiety. Emotions. She saw everything as a threat. Even tears. I listened. It was like solving a puzzle where half the pieces were still in the box. But she locked Sam in her room. Once. I remember. Sam was a teenager then, snapping. Yelling that she wanted to leave. Suzanne couldn't take it. Yeah, it was wrong. But, you have to understand, it wasn't tyranny. It was helplessness. A crooked attempt at parenting. And about Sam cutting ties, disappearing. Laureen was silent again. It was true. In college, she left us with no explanation. I called, she didn't pick up. I wrote letters, they came back. And then we heard from a mutual acquaintance saying, my family is dead. But why? Sam lives by a pattern. As soon as someone hurts her, she erases that person. Forever. Indiscriminately. Even if it's not malice, just a mistake. To her, a betrayal. I shook my head. But isn't that weird? Burying living people. Lauren shrugged. Sometimes it's easier to live with the dead than to forgive those who hurt. Especially if you don't know how to hold a grudge. If you have no gray areas, just black and white. It got me thinking. And her ex. From college. You know him? Josh. Yeah. He was a good guy. But they fought. Badly. She'd throw things, he'd leave. Then she said he was an abuser. And he didn't say anything. Went to another state. I clenched my fists. I don't know who to believe. You don't have to believe, she said. Just watch. Listen. If you love her, you'll see the truth between the words. She's not a liar. She's just runs away. Always. Even when no one's chasing her. I walked out of the house feeling heavy inside. It was like the world had shifted. Everything I knew about Sam seemed like part of some theater production where I was just an audience member. But now I realized she was writing the script. And she was crossing out characters. I didn't go straight home. I went to the old coffee shop by the park. Where she and I used to sit and dream of going to Italy. She'd laughed then, saying she hated tourists but wished she could get lost in Rome. I pulled out my phone and dialed Josh Samantha College. Found a Facebook profile. Few photos, closed feed. Wrote a short message. Sorry. You know Sam. Trying to understand. Can you talk? He replied in the evening. Come on over. It's better to talk once than to guess. He lived on the outskirts. A simple house, a dog at the door. Josh appeared tall, with a quiet voice and tired eyes. I knew right away why you were here, he said when I walked in. It's about Sam, isn't it? Yeah. He nodded. Poured coffee. Moved the mug. We dated for almost 2 years. It was, complicated. She was incredible. Smart, deep. But, at one point, everything started to change. She couldn't stand criticism. Anything she said was an attack. If I was late, it was sabotage. If I didn't call at lunch, I was losing interest. And if I said I was having a hard time, I was pushing her. Were you hurting her? He sighed. I yelled once. That was it. She threw my phone at the wall then. And then she said I was pushing her psychologically. That I was, like a mother, too. Did you talk to her afterward? No. She just left. And then I told people I was a toxic person. That's it. Erased. I nodded. Thank you. He looked at me with sympathy. She's special. But she doesn't know how to be. She knows how to leave. At home, Sam sat on the floor. A stack of books next to her. She heard me open the door, but she didn't look up. Where have you been? Out. All day. Yes. She didn't say anything. I came over. Sat across from her. You bury people, Sam. Not physically. But in a way that makes them disappear. Do you understand that? She looked up slowly. I haven't buried you. Not yet. But now. I don't know who you are. A pause. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. Just said. I don't know who I am either. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to leave. But I stayed. And I just sat there. Sometimes that's all we can do. The next morning, I drove to the suburbs again. Laureen had given me the number of one of Sam's college friends, Mark. He was in their shared literature group, seemingly nothing personal, but he knew her better than just by correspondence. I could feel it. We met at a coffee shop that smelled of cinnamon and overly strong coffee. Mark wasn't what I expected. Tall, nervous, with circles under his eyes and a way of tugging at the collar of his shirt. You're her boyfriend now? I nodded. He visibly tensed. You want to know if she was a monster or a hero, don't you? I want to know who she really was. Because, to be honest, I'm not sure I know anymore. Mark nodded and sipped his coffee. Sam. She was like something out of a movie. You know, the type of person who looks at you like you're the only one who's ever understood her. And then a month later, you find out she was saying it to everyone. She was amazing. But it was a spiral. She disappeared. She'd come back. She'd open up and then blame you for exposing her. He stopped talking. You could tell it hurt to remember. She told me you were controlling her. Mark grinned. Bitterly. I was the one who followed her around with water when she had panic attacks. I was the one who waited silently in the hallway while she yelled at her mother on the phone. I wasn't a saint. But I was there for her. She told me she trusted me. And then, she said I was using her. That I was, quote, an emotional vampire. And she left. I never saw her again. I walked out of the cafe and got in my car. My hands were shaking. Not from anger. Emptiness. The feeling that the last year of my life had been a script written by someone else. I wasn't a character in it, I was a prop. I went to the park. Where she and I had sat for the first few weeks. She was lying on a bench then, talking about her childhood, about how her mom forbade her to read Harry Potter because it's bloody witchcraft. It seemed like a cute anecdote then. Now it was a confusing pain. I opened my phone and scrolled through the correspondence. A sea of, I love you, you're my home, no one listened to me like you. And now silence. When I got home, Sam was asleep. Her face was peaceful, almost childlike. Her hair was spread across the pillow, her lips slightly open. And I suddenly realized, I don't know this person. I don't know who she really is. Who had been by my side all this time. I sat on the edge of the bed. And I sat there. Until dawn. In the morning, she woke up and saw me. She didn't say anything. She looked at me. As if she knew everything. I was at Mark's, I said. Quietly. Without accusation. Sam nodded. Pause. What did he say? Enough. But, not everything. Of course not everything. He saw what he wanted to see. All you see is the convenient truth. I want to see you, Sam. Just you. No layers. Without the masks. She sat up, pulled the plaid over her lap. Her eyes are tired. Not frightened, detached. I don't know how to be unmasked, Alex. Every time I've taken it off, I've been hurt. Every time. Once. But you hurt others. Just by not saying anything. Just by walking away. Because they can't hear me otherwise. I am heard. She looked at me. And it was probably the most honest look she'd given me in a while. There was no defense. Just confusion. I'm scared. All the time. Even when I laugh. Even when you hug me. I think, what if you leave? What if you're like them? Don't you think it's you who's leaving? Silence. She cried. Not sobs. Just tears. Slowly. One after another. I really thought burying my mom would make me feel better. That I'd get rid of the past. But I didn't. I was just alone. I went over. I hugged her. You don't have to bury people, Sam. Just learn to let them go. No rage. Without the knife. She nodded. The tears were flowing. And for the first time ever, I felt like maybe she was ready to try being real. Maybe I am, too. I got up before her. Not because I couldn't sleep this time. I just knew it was going to be a hard morning, and I wanted to be the first one up. The apartment was quiet. Not the kind of silence that hides resentments, but the kind where words begin to emerge. In the kitchen, I made her favorite tea, green tea with jasmine. I found a clean cup. I opened the window. The cold air smelled like something clear. For the first time in a long time, not unsettling. When she came out of the bedroom, everything in me wanted to stand up and say, I know everything. But I didn't. I just slid the mug over to her. I didn't add sugar, quietly. She looked at the cup. Then she looked at me. Thank you. We didn't say anything. I sat down across from her. There was a table between us. And two worlds. Hers, with lies, pain, unspoken. Mine with doubts, faith and fatigue. I knew neither of them had won. Neither of them lost. They just existed. And we had to decide if they would connect. I'm not going to ask you why you came up with all this, I said. I won't demand an explanation. I just want you to know that I'm here. And I don't want to be a new page for you to tear out. She flinched a little. Looked away. There was no panic in her eyes. Just, shame. Or fear. A fine line. I didn't lie to you to hurt you, she whispered. I lied because I didn't know how else to live. Because every time I tried to be me it was unbearable. I didn't answer anything. I know you know everything. You've known for a long time. I can feel it. You've gotten quieter. Softer. And that means further away. I looked away. Do you want me to be closer? Yes. But I don't know how. Silence came over us again. I got up. I went to the bedroom. I came back with a small envelope. It's a letter. I wrote it in the night. It's not accusations or questions. Just everything I had inside. If you ever want it, read it. She took the envelope. She held it to her chest. Like she was afraid it would disappear. I'm afraid, Alex. I'm not. Because to be afraid is to be alive. And I want to be alive with you. Real. She closed her eyes. And then she said. Mom knew you'd find me. What? That's what she said the last time she called. That, someday there will be someone who wants to find the truth, no matter what. I thought it was a threat. But maybe it was hope. Does she still want to get in touch? I don't know. I'm not ready. Not yet. All right, then. You're not gonna insist. No. Because I want to be around you, not your injuries. She nodded. The tears came again. But now they were warm. No one's ever said that to me before. So start listening. A couple days later, I found an envelope in the hallway. No signature. Just my name. Inside was a picture. Sam. Small. About 10 years old. Wearing a stupid ducky sweatshirt and faded eyes. She's standing against an old tree and smiling. Sincerely. Real. On the back is a line. I'm trying to learn to be real. Thank you for giving me a chance to at least try. I sat with that picture for half an evening. Just held it in my hands. Then I framed it. Put it next to my bed. Time passed. Sam started talking more. Not all at once. Not all of it. But, more often. Less hiding in her phone. Sometimes disappearing into herself, but coming back. She still didn't want to talk to her mother. But she stopped denying her existence. Sometimes she even mentioned something from her childhood, not as a horror, but as part of her story. One day, during a walk, she took my hand and said, I feel alive. Next to you. And I'm not afraid to be me. Even if it's not the version you've come to love. It's not the version I love. I love you. Broken. Kissable. Running away. Coming back. The real you. She stopped. Hugged me in the middle of the street. Thank you. Final scene. We're home. It's evening. I'm making pasta. She's cutting tomatoes. Music playing in the background, jazz, just the way she likes it. We argue about who forgets to take out the trash. We laugh. Then she goes into the bedroom. Comes back with a scrapbook. I want to show you something, she says. On the first page is the picture from the tree. On the second is a note from Mommy. On the third, a drawing of the two of us. No masks. Just people. She looks at me and says. Thank you for staying when you could have left. I smile. Thank you for choosing to come back. Sometimes those who lie don't do it because they want to deceive. It's because they don't know how to be themselves. And if they're lucky, someone stays by their side. While they learn to tell the truth. To themselves first.